Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we are focusing on you and, well, a modern habit that I think almost all of us share.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a multi-billion-dollar industry, right?
Mhm.
Sitting right in our medicine cabinets. And we are going to deconstruct the entire premise behind it.
Right. We are specifically looking at this practice of taking isolated vitamins and supplements. The idea that you can just extract a single nutrient, put it in a pill, and somehow bypass the need for real food.
Exactly. And to guide us through this, we are pulling from a really comprehensive clinical analysis by the My Whole Foods research team.
It's a great report.
Yeah, it's titled The Illusion of the Pill: Why Isolated Supplements Can't Replace the Whole Food Matrix. And they aren't just giving us theories here, right?
No, not at all.
They back this up with hard data from landmark clinical trials, stuff published in the New England Journal of Medicine, and critical reviews in Food Science and Nutrition.
It's a fascinating stack of research, really, because it challenges a fundamental assumption that, well, most of us make about our health and our daily routines.
Okay, let's unpack this. I want you to picture yourself for a second. You are walking down the aisle of a modern health food store, or even just your local pharmacy.
Oh, yeah, we've all been there.
You know the exact aisle I'm talking about. It is pristine, it's sterile, and it's lined from floor to ceiling with thousands of these neatly packaged little bottles.
Just rows and rows of them.
Right. And every single one of them is promising you a highly concentrated, isolated extraction of health, like vitamin C for your immunity, calcium for your bones.
Beta-carotene for your vision.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It feels so logical. We have this modern habit of looking at our health like a checklist, you know?
Yeah, we assume checking off the boxes just means swallowing these isolated active compounds.
But nutrition is not a collection of isolated soloists. It is a highly orchestrated biological symphony. And when you take a single nutrient out of a plant and put it in a pill, you are basically leaving the entire orchestra behind.
That's a really good way to put it. The logic makes sense on the surface, right? Like, we've spent decades operating on this very simple mathematical assumption.
Which is what, exactly?
Well, if a tiny bit of a vitamin inside an apple is good for you, then extracting that vitamin, packing it into a massive megadose capsule, and swallowing it must be exponentially better.
More is better.
Right, more is better. But the scientific data points in the exact opposite direction.
So the big question for today is swallowing an isolated, highly concentrated extraction of a nutrient actually giving you the health benefits of the food it came from?
And the short answer is no. I mean, to understand why a pill fails, we have to look at the microscopic architecture of real food.
We have to understand how our human digestive tract physically processes what we eat, right?
Exactly. We call this structural foundation the food matrix.
The food matrix.
Yeah.
Okay, it sounds incredibly high-tech, but it really comes down to the physical reality of something as simple as like a wild blueberry.
Yeah, think about the physical experience of eating. When you bite into a crisp apple and you hear that sharp crunch, that sound is you literally breaking into the food matrix.
Oh, wow. I never thought about it like that.
Yeah. You aren't eating vitamins floating around in a vacuum. You're ingesting this incredibly intricate, three-dimensional physical structure.
So what's actually in that structure?
Well, you're eating rigid cellulose walls. You are eating a deeply interwoven web of soluble and insoluble dietary fibers.
Right, the stuff that gives it its shape.
Exactly.
Mm.
And you have specialized cellular compartments like chloroplasts, alongside a vast network of binding proteins and natural plant lipids.
And the reason we should care about this architecture, and not just the juice inside, is because that 3D matrix completely dictates how the food behaves once it hits your stomach.
It really does. It acts as a brilliant control mechanism.
How so?
Well, when you eat a whole food, that fibrous matrix actually governs the rate at which your gastric juices can penetrate the food particles.
So it's like a physical barrier that slows down digestion.
Exactly. Because it meters out the release of nutrients, it controls the speed at which sugars enter your bloodstream.
Which is why eating a whole apple provides a steady stream of energy.
Right, whereas drinking a highly processed, fiberless apple juice causes this violent, harmful spike in your insulin.
But it's doing more than just regulating sugar, isn't it? It's actively protecting the micronutrients, too.
This is a crucial function, yeah. The highly acidic environment of your stomach is incredibly harsh. I mean, it's designed to break things down.
Right, it's literal acid.
Yeah, so the food matrix physically shields sensitive micronutrients and antioxidants from being instantly destroyed by that stomach
It
acid.
acts like a protective shuttle.
Exactly, carrying those nutrients safely out of the stomach and down into the lower intestine.
And what happens when it gets there?
Well, once it reaches the lower intestine, that intact fibrous matrix becomes a critical prebiotic fuel source. It ferments.
So it literally feeds the trillions of symbiotic bacteria that make up your gut microbiome.
Yes. Those bacteria rely on that complex fiber to survive and, to produce short-chain fatty acids.
Which regulate your immune system and your brain health.
Right, which is completely the opposite of what happens with the standard supplement pill.
I mean, yeah, think about the mechanics of taking a standard isolated vitamin C pill. You swallow it. It provides zero structural matrix.
Not at all.
It has absolute zero fiber. It offers zero sustenance for your microbiome.
Right, it drops into your stomach, dissolves almost instantly, and unnaturally floods your bloodstream with a chemical spike.
And then, well, the body can't process that much at once, can it?
No, it can't. The body handles it the only way it knows how. It just flushes the excess out through the kidneys.
So you're basically just creating very expensive urine.
Yeah, pretty much. You're getting a tiny fraction of the biological benefit, precisely because you bypass the physical delivery system.
It makes me think of it like this. Taking an isolated vitamin is like taking the steering wheel out of a high-performance car, sitting on your couch with it, and expecting to drive to work.
I love that analogy. That's
Yeah.
exactly it.
The isolated vitamin is just a part. The food matrix is the vehicle that actually gets the nutrient safely to its destination.
Yeah, and to take it even further, the fibers of the plant are the chassis, the bioflavonoids are the engine, the lipids are the fuel lines.
If you just swallow the steering wheel, you aren't going anywhere.
Right. The physical architecture, like the literal walls and fibers, provides the structure, but we also have to look at the chemical synergy happening inside those walls.
Because nutrients don't just sit alone in a cell waiting to be eaten, they interact.
They interact constantly. What's fascinating here is that in a whole food, nutrients exist in complex biochemical networks designed to enhance each other's absorption.
And stability, right.
Yeah, stability and cellular efficacy. Let's look at that vitamin C example again, but let's look at it inside a whole orange.
Classic immunity booster.
Right. Inside that orange, the vitamin C is tightly bound to a class of phytonutrients called bioflavonoids.
Bioflavonoids.
Specifically, compounds with names like hesperidin and naringenin.
Okay. Hesperidin and naringenin. What are they actually doing chemically?
Well, they act as biochemical bodyguards. Think about what an antioxidant actually does.
It donates an electron to neutralize a harmful free radical in your body.
Exactly. But once it donates that electron, the antioxidant itself becomes slightly unstable.
Oh, I see.
So in a whole orange, those bioflavonoids are right there to pass electrons back and forth. They actively protect the vitamin C from premature oxidation.
They keep it stable.
Yes, and beyond just protecting it, they actively open the cellular pathways that allow your human cells to absorb the vitamin.
Plus, the orange provides natural water, structured carbohydrates, and trace minerals.
All of which your body uses to transport that vitamin across the intestinal wall. It's a massive team effort.
So when you go to the pharmacy and buy a generic bottle of vitamin C, what are you actually putting in your body?
You are almost always taking synthetic ascorbic acid. That is the isolated chemical completely stripped of its bioflavonoid partners.
Without those natural synergistic compounds stabilizing it.
Right, and without them, that isolated ascorbic acid is significantly less bioavailable.
Meaning your body just can't absorb or use it efficiently?
Exactly. And in excessive megadoses, without its balancing partners, that isolated ascorbic acid can sometimes even act as a pro-oxidant.
Wait, really? A pro-oxidant?
Yeah. Instead of stopping cellular stress, it can occasionally cause it simply because it lacks the chemical network to remain stable after it reacts.
That is wild. The idea that something we specifically take to stop oxidation can flip and cause it just because it doesn't have its partners.
It's all about the synergy.
And this synergy applies to the fat-soluble vitamins too, doesn't it? Like vitamins A, D, E, and K?
It applies beautifully to them. Think about where you find fat-soluble vitamins naturally, dark leafy greens, for example.
Right.
In those plants, nature packages those vitamins perfectly alongside natural plant lipids and chloroplasts.
Okay, so when you eat the leaf,
When you eat the leaf, those natural fats trigger your stomach and gallbladder to release bile acids.
And that bile is the exact biological mechanism required to break down the fats.
Yes, and ensure those specific vitamins are absorbed into your system.
Okay, but let me push back on this for a second.
Yeah.
Because I can hear you, the listener, thinking exactly what I'm thinking right now.
Okay, go for it.
If I know that vitamin A needs fat to be absorbed, and I have a dry vitamin A pill,
Yeah.
if I just swallow that dry pill with a glass of whole milk, or maybe eat a piece of cheese with it, doesn't that solve the missing lipid problem? I mean, I'm introducing fat to my stomach at the exact same time.
It's a very logical workaround, and honestly, it's exactly what many nutritionists used to advise.
Right, that makes sense.
Adding dietary fat to a dry pill will certainly help with absorption compared to taking it on an empty stomach.
But let me guess, it still doesn't replicate the physiological effects of the whole food.
You got it. It doesn't.
Why not? I mean, fat is fat, right?
Yeah.
The bile acids should still trigger.
It comes back to the cellular packaging we were talking about. When you eat the leafy green, the fat and the vitamin are physically locked together inside that microscopic 3D matrix.
Ah, the matrix again.
Right. They are released slowly, synchronously, side by side, as the fiber breaks down over hours in your digestive tract.
So it's a sustained, metered release.
Exactly. But when you drop a highly concentrated pill into a wash of milk, the pill casing dissolves rapidly.
It's just a sudden flood of the isolated chemical.
Right, loosely accompanied by some external fat. You are getting a chemical dump. I mean, it's better than nothing, but it is not the symphony.
So if the packaging and the partnerships are so critical, what happens when we ignore that completely?
That's where things get dangerous.
Like, what happens when we just decide to take massive, isolated megadoses of the stuff we know is good for us?
The clinical consequences of ignoring nutritional synergy can be severe. The data shows it doesn't just result in expensive urine.
It can actively harm you.
Yes, it really can.
Here's where it gets really interesting. The analysis highlights a few landmark studies here, and some of the findings are genuinely shocking.
They really are.
Tell us about the beta-carotene trials.
Okay, so in the early 1990s, researchers conducted the alpha-tocopherol beta-carotene cancer prevention study.
Often referred to as the ATBC study, right?
Exactly. It was published in the New England Journal of Medicine. And they had decades of observational data showing that populations who consumed high amounts of beta-carotene had significantly lower rates of lung cancer.
And beta-carotene is abundant in whole foods like carrots and sweet potatoes.
Right. It's a powerful antioxidant. So the thinking is, eat more of it. Fight off cellular damage, get less cancer.
Makes total sense.
So the researchers hypothesized that if they took a highly vulnerable population heavy smokers and gave them massive megadoses of isolated beta-carotene supplements, they could dramatically protect their lungs.
And lower their cancer rates.
Exactly. It was intended to be this major preventative breakthrough.
But the results did not show protection.
No. The results stunned the medical community. The smokers receiving the isolated beta-carotene supplements actually experienced an increased rate of lung cancer.
Oh, wow.
Yes, and a higher overall mortality rate compared to the placebo group. The pills literally made the cellular damage worse.
How is that even biologically possible? An antioxidant causing cancer?
If we connect this to the bigger picture of synergy, it makes perfect physiological sense.
Okay, break that down for us.
Inside a whole carrot, beta-carotene is just one of hundreds of different carotenoids and antioxidants. They all work together to safely manage free radicals.
Right, the team effort.
Think of a free radical like a hot potato. It's a highly reactive electrical charge. The antioxidants pass this hot potato back and forth, distributing the energy safely until it's neutralized.
So they have a support system to handle the heat.
Exactly. But when you extract that single beta-carotene molecule, highly concentrate it, and drop it into the highly oxidative toxic environment of a heavy smoker's lung.
It has no support system.
Right. It caught the hot potato, but had nowhere to pass it. The molecule became completely unstable.
So it flipped from being a protective antioxidant into a damaging pro-oxidant.
Yes. Without its balancing partners, the isolated chemical became a severe source of oxidative stress itself.
That completely flips the script on how we view a vitamin. And this isn't an isolated phenomenon, is it?
Not at all.
The research outlines a very similar mechanism happening with something millions of people take every morning, calcium supplements.
Yeah, dietary calcium from whole foods like leafy greens, seeds, and dairy is strongly associated with excellent bone health and cardiovascular protection.
Right.
But massive clinical analyses have consistently shown that high-dose, isolated calcium supplements are associated with an increased risk of cardiovascular events.
Like myocardial infarctions,
Yeah,
heart attacks.
exactly.
Let's break down the why here. Why does an isolated calcium pill cause heart problems when a glass of milk or a bowl of kale doesn't?
Because calcium needs traffic cops. When you consume calcium in a whole food diet, it naturally comes paired with vitamin K2, vitamin D, and magnesium.
And those synergistic nutrients direct the traffic.
Right. Vitamin K2, for example, activates specific proteins in your body that act like magnets. They literally pull the calcium out of your bloodstream and bind it securely into your bone matrix.
So without K2, the calcium just doesn't know where to go.
It aimlessly floats in the bloodstream. When you take a sudden, massive influx of an isolated calcium pill without that team of vitamins present, the body can't process it all into the bones.
So where does it go?
That excess calcium circulates and ends up sticking to the walls of your arteries, calcifying them as plaque. It builds up in soft tissues instead of strengthening the skeleton.
Wow. So our biological systems operate optimally on complex, slow-release whole foods.
Yes, they do.
The human digestive tract functions like a highly specialized processing plant designed for complexity, not massive chemical boluses.
That's a great way to put it.
But having established all these risks, we need to introduce some vital nuance here. I mean, hearing about the ATBC study makes me want to go home and sweep every single bottle in my medicine cabinet into the trash.
I get that reaction.
But surely the entire pharmacy aisle isn't invalid, right? There have to be scenarios where supplementation is necessary.
Oh, absolutely. It is extremely important to clarify that the science does not suggest all supplements are useless.
Okay, good.
The key is in the definition of the word. They are meant to be a supplement to a robust diet used to correct specific deficits.
So they aren't replacements.
No, never replacements. There are very distinct, scientifically validated scenarios where targeted supplementation is a clinical necessity.
Let's walk through those. When is swallowing the isolated pill actually the right move?
Usually when there is a specific diagnosable roadblock in the body or the environment. Take vitamin B12, for instance.
B12.
B12 is actually synthesized by bacteria found in soil and in the digestive tracts of animals. Historically, humans got incidental B12 from the dirt left on roots and vegetables, or, from unfiltered water.
Wait, so our modern cleanliness is actually causing a deficit?
Exactly. Because our modern agricultural supply chains are heavily sanitized, our produce is triple washed, and our soil is often depleted. It's notoriously difficult for strict vegans and vegetarians to obtain adequate B12 from modern plants alone.
Oh, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, so in that specific scenario, an isolated B12 supplement is a non-negotiable medical necessity to prevent severe neurological damage.
Right, it's an environmental gap in a specific diet.
Yeah.
What about vitamin D? My doctor tells me to take it every winter.
And your doctor's following sound science. Vitamin D3 is synthesized when our skin is exposed to direct UVB sunlight.
Which we don't get much of in the winter.
Right. If you live in northern latitudes during the winter months, the angle of the sun is simply too low. The UVB rays bounce off the atmosphere.
So you literally cannot synthesize adequate vitamin D naturally during those months, no matter how much time you spend outside.
Exactly. So D3 supplementation becomes highly prudent for immune and bone health.
And I imagine acute diagnosed deficiencies require a heavy hand too.
If you are already in the danger zone, yes. In cases of severe clinical deficiencies, like acute iron deficiency anemia, you need a high-dose, isolated supplement to rapidly correct the deficit.
Because trying to fix acute anemia just by eating more spinach would simply be too slow to be medically safe.
Precisely. And the research also dives into genetics. Not everyone processes food the same way.
Right. Genetics play a massive role.
Some individuals have specific genetic polymorphisms. A common one is the MTHFR mutation.
MTHFR, what does that do?
This mutation impairs the enzyme responsible for processing standard folate from food or standard folic acid supplements.
So what happens if they just eat a normal diet or take a normal multivitamin?
Their bodies can't unlock the nutrients. Think of standard folate as a locked door. People with the MTHFR mutation are born without the key.
Oh, so the standard folic acid just builds up in their blood unusable.
Exactly. For these individuals, clinically speaking, they require isolated methylated folate supplements.
Methylated, what does that mean?
Methylated simply means the key is already in the lock. The nutrient is pre-activated, so their cellular machinery can actually use it.
Now, that's fascinating.
And similarly, people with severe gastrointestinal diseases that cause malabsorption issues need isolated supplements because their digestive tracts literally cannot break down the food matrix to get to the nutrients.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener, staring at your morning handful of pills? It really reframes the entire concept of a supplement.
It really does.
Supplements are precise tools for fixing specific metabolic blocks. They compensate for geographical deficits, like a lack of winter sun or genetic mutations.
They are surgical interventions.
Right. What they are not, under any circumstances, are broad-spectrum substitutes for a healthy diet. You cannot out-supplement a diet that lacks the physical food matrix.
That is the core takeaway. In all of those valid clinical cases, the isolated vitamin is solving a specific mechanical or environmental problem. It is never an excuse to skip the produce aisle.
Which brings us to the ultimate mandate from this deep dive. The true fountain of health isn't sitting on a shelf in a sterile plastic bottle.
No, it's not.
It is found in the vibrant, chaotic, beautifully complex produce aisle. Every time you eat a whole fruit, a vegetable, a nut, or a seed, you are getting a masterclass in biochemical engineering.
You are ingesting a perfectly orchestrated food matrix that is naturally designed to nourish your cells, balance your blood sugar, and deliver antioxidants in a stable, manageable way that a laboratory simply cannot replicate.
So moving forward, the goal should be to maximize dietary diversity. The old adage to eat the rainbow holds incredible scientific weight.
It really does. That is how you ensure you are getting the full spectrum of those synergistic phytonutrients.
The bodyguards and the traffic cops?
Exactly. Embrace the fiber-rich structures of whole plants and recognize that the physical matrix, the crunch of the apple, the skin of the blueberry, the actual structure of the food is just as important as the vitamins contained inside it.
And reserve the isolated supplements for when you have a targeted, medically validated need.
Right. And as we close out today's discussion, I want to leave you with one final lingering question to ponder on your own.
Okay, let's hear it.
We've talked extensively about how whole foods possess this protective, slow-release matrix designed to ensure nutrients safely bypass the stomach and reach the lower intestine.
Right, and we know that matrix acts as the primary food source for our microbiome. The fiber feeds the gut bacteria.
Exactly. So think about the mechanics of the modern habit. What does a lifetime of flooding the stomach with hyper-concentrated, instantly dissolving synthetic vitamins do to the delicate balance of those trillions of gut bacteria?
Oh, yeah.
If the matrix is the physical food for the microbiome and the isolated pill provides zero matrix, could our obsessive pursuit of isolated pill-based health actually be starving the most important internal ecosystem we have?
That is a wild thought to end on. The very capsules you take to optimize your health might physically be starving your gut of what it actually needs to survive.
It's definitely something to think about.
Next time you are walking down that pristine, sterile aisle of the pharmacy, looking at those thousands of little bottles, maybe just keep walking until you hit the produce section.
Yeah, good advice.
That's all for today's deep dive. We'll catch you on the next one.